Their job is to manipulate us into these things, and they often use high technology to do this. So back in the day, back in Rome, the Greek Heron, he would create steam engines that would open, even, somewhat considered computer technology, pins and levers and ropes and sand and weight.
The Roman bath, a good example.
Yeah, and he would set it up so that when the priest came out into the temple, lit the fire started the mechanism and the doors would open and everyone thought God was in the building. So that's not that far off from what they're about to do to us now. They have anti-gravity technology. They have HARP. They have the ability to generate holograms. Since they created the grid to couple with the CERN, Large Hadron Collider, whose corporate logo just happens to be 666 with a hyperdimensional portal, the creators of the World Wide Web, they have now a transmission device, a way to open a hole into the other portal. They're trying to open a dimension, right? They're in Switzerland.
No, I really hope they're not doing that, but I do have to read the same stories you're reading, yes.
It's true. So the level that they're at, the ability to manipulate the weather, the use of HARP, extremely low-frequency technology with this antenna array shooting radio frequencies into the ionosphere to move the jet stream, to alter storm patterns, to alter migration patterns. They have the powers of God. Once they established the grid and got it up and running, now they have the power of holograms. They are ready for this Bloom Beam project. They are ready to bring on the end of the world. Now, these meteors that I've been reporting, and we talked about the last time I was here, are coming in with these strange flashes that are turning night to day, and then there's a sonic boom, and it's followed by an earthquake. Now, there have been like Benjamin Fulford that reported the earthquake machine. Even Milosevic in the USA Today said we were using HARP technologies to cause earthquakes and floods in the Middle East. That was on the front page of USA Today. So we have these godlike powers now, or they do, I should say, and they're going to use them against us just as Haron did with the opening of the doors, only it's going to seem like the end of the world. And if you start to couple the whole idea of Akhenaten with Moses, and you start to realize that we might be in another Exodus, and we start to look at the plagues that were brought about. The first one, of course, was the plague of blood. And what were we hit with but HIV?
Hey, plague of blood. Strike that. We're going to erase that. Strike that from the record. Blood is not... Okay, go ahead.
Oh, right. Sorry. But that was followed by the plague of the livestock, right? And what are we doing now with the what we can no longer call the swine flu, which, of course, is the swine, avian, human flu. So we're watching these same plagues unfold. And when people talk about a column of fire and a column of smoke that Moses followed to the mountain to get the Ark of the Covenant, we might start seeing some stuff like that coming in our very near future.
Well, and I've done a lot of research into Operation Mongoose. I believe that was the program that would be used to project a hologram over Cuba so that the Cubans would think, 40 years ago that Jesus was coming. Or there was a similar operation in Iraq, the name escapes me, where Allah would come out of the clouds. I personally have worked on some of that technology. I haven't seen that it could be that effective. But again, we just don't know. And I think where you're going and what you're saying is that technology is the new God. Technology is the new religion. And then we have Al Gore, who is out giving global warming as a new religion. And literally, I feel like we are in the Salem witch trials, where if I disagree with global warming, I'll be burned at the stake as a heretic. It's so amazing to me, Freeman, that the more we should be advancing as a society and reaching higher consciousness, the more we seem to be going backwards into the cave with the shamans and the leaders telling us, what to believe and what to believe in and how to plant our corn and when to do a rain dance. But we just have to update this with modern technology. Technology is the new religion. It is the new God. And if you don't believe, look what they do to the Amish. Look what they do to the Luddites. Look what they do to people who, want to unplug from this matrix. They are, again, burned at the stake as heretics. And so this really shows me where we're going and why I'm quite concerned, to be honest with you, because of the time of our generation and where this is all going and how fast it's going, and the fact that the majority of Americans and people around the world seem to be, I'll use the word ignorant, just not up to speed on some of this, and how fast it's going, and the people that we know, this cabal, this elite neo-pharaohist group that's in charge of this, they could care less about humankind. They see us as cattle. So when we put all of this together, it doesn't end up well for humankind, but there's got to be something we can do. Now, I have suggested citizens panels. Not elected officials, not corporate representatives, but citizens panels that will have access to every version of technology and be able to judge on behalf of the citizenry if that's something that should be pursued, it should be paid for, or advanced. And if that is indeed dire to all humankind. You know, we look at George Bush and the Republicans, and they were against cloning because they're pro-life, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's all just this giant matrix illusion washing machine, and we're the socks inside the washing machine, but that means that one of us can escape.
Absolutely, and if we're going to take this thing to its fullest level, and if you want me to go out to my furthest extent, we are entering this solar cycle 24, so yes, it is going to get much hotter, and over the next 4 years into 2012, it is going to seem like global warming. There's no doubt about it. We should see 117, 114 degree weather.
Climate change.
Yeah. But it's the sun, and of course that's what they've been tracking all along. If you look at all the ancient structures, those of Karnak, Luxor, come over to America with Chaco Canyon, go down to the Mexicans, either way you're looking at it, they were following the sun. They were following solar cycles, and these were the most critical thing to their life. And also, they believed in the power of synchronicity. So what is coming to be at this point is, as this solar flare storm is reaching its maximum, we are also entering an area where we have a large hole in our magnetosphere. And studies have been done with Faraday cage that if you remove the electromagnetic spectrum, humans tend to become more psychic. And so at this moment, the magnetosphere is depleting. We have a hole four times the size of Earth in the magnetosphere while the sun is erupting. And it's quite possible that we will all become quite more attuned to one another. There's going to be more and more synchromystical events as people start to say the same things and make the same realizations, and an awakening will occur, and this is what they've really feared. They've been watching this time. And if we were all to become more psychic, well, if you believe in sci-tech and remote viewing, the military investigations into psychism, you know that we're all psychic, and we will become more so. So I think this will be a strong factor if we can allow our creative brains to take over and allow this type of interplay that I'm doing. We start to open the portal. We start to open our own understanding, and we are going to become more and more aware.
And we have to be more aware. And we're giving them the money for the research. We're giving them the money to buy and sell these companies, and they're parlaying this. Again, I mean, we look at what happened with the economic 9/11. I mean, if you knew that was coming, then you capitalized off of it. You did very well from it, and it doesn't matter what happens to people. It's just facts, figures, and collateral damage. So we cannot give these people this kind of power. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And whether you believe, you know, some of the things we're talking about on the program today, Freeman, you know, some people are going to be out there, they're going to be very skeptical. I want them to be skeptical, but we cannot hold back. We have to go as far as we can, and just as space is the new frontier, or maybe the last frontier, and you know, weaponizing and militarizing space in order to have the ultimate monopoly, okay, control over the entire Earth, everything that you can see. I mean, we go to Google Images, and I can see a picture of my house with my boy standing out in the front yard. You know, I mean, when I was a kid, that would be almost impossible. Maybe not impossible, but not practical and not in application. And now we're seeing that. So I really believe my audience and everyone hearing this broadcast needs to wake up to the possibilities. And we need to discuss that, and we can't be afraid. We can't self-censor ourselves to a degree that we can't even talk about these things.
Absolutely. We've got to open the door. We've got to be able to discuss. They've been doing this in a pretty good fashion of a program through the educational system of convincing us not to reach out, not to think outside of the box. If you do so in class, then you're you know, scolded. You're told to think whatever it is that comes to your mind. You know, whatever the best solution you think is the answer, you're no longer allowed to question. Ignorant has become a bad word, and if you question anything, then you're dumb and you're ignorant. But that's the wrong way to look at it. If you don't know something, investigate it, and don't sit there and try to act smart, because that's what they're conditioning you to do.
Our college students students have become the modern-day stone movers and diggers of sand to build this version of pyramids. I mean, and we have to remember that the people, we know that slaves built the pyramid. That's what we're told through the History Channel or whatever. But these were generally, a lot of them very educated people, masters of stone masons, etc. And they were conditioned and initiated in order to move those stones to create these giant monuments for these elite so that they would never, their family names would never be forgotten. And I think they've done a pretty good job because, again, if we look at some of your information and some of the information we've come across over the years, they are still in power to this day. And maybe they had something there. Freeman, we're almost done with the interview today. I appreciate you coming in studio on the program Deadline Live. Again, I'm Jack Blood. Freeman with us. FreemanTV.com.
That's right.
And the Freeman Perspective. We're lucky to see that here on cable TV in Austin, Texas. Shows you what a great place Austin, Texas is, that they put my man Freeman on TV, and he gets to say all of this and just put it all out there.